going on, everyone? Welcome back to our lawn and welcome to the approximately 3-month progress on my most recent renovation project here in my front yard as I work to convert this from an absolutely terrible existing previous front lawn to a Seed Superstore Kentucky bluegrass mix. And it is looking incredible. So basically, this video is long, but it is all of the footage that I had as I went and turned this section of my yard from what it looked like to what it looks like right now. It's every step of the process from killing it off, the products that you're going to need to use. I tilled the existing soil so that I could smooth it out and get it a little bit more level. Some of the struggles that I had with that process. Fertilizing, how I went about fertilizing this area, going from a completely untreated section of yard to making something where the soil can grow grass seed. Watering practices, weed control, how and when. I took a couple risks doing some things with some products that maybe they don't recommend, but it's that entire process from start to finish. And actually, this isn't entirely perfect. There's still some weeds in here that are dying off from the germination, but if we go over here to my left, this was what I did last summer, and this is all completely established. It is thick as can be. It looks incredible. It feels incredible. Not a weed to be found, and just completely healthy turf. So this video, if you can stick along, is going to be the entire process from start in May to finish right now in August. And here you can see the following year what you can expect from this process. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you stick around and watch the whole thing. I believe it will be beneficial for you. Enjoy. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to our lawn. So what we're starting this week or this video with is the next phase of reseeding and renovating our front yard. So this section right here, you can see there's a line drawn right there. So what I did is I killed off that little section because it's about how much I can water regularly without an irrigation system and really keep up on it and make sure that everything's going to work. And I want everything to work because the seed that I'm using is expensive and I would like it to not get carried off by birds or die or not germinate or whatever. So what this is going to be is either the start of just my normal weekly uploads, or what I'm going to do then once it's all finished, once I'm through every process, every step, and there is grass out there that I'm cutting, then I'm going to again upload a video on how to completely kill off, till, smooth out, seed, water, and get ready to go, so that you can have a yard that looks like that. And so one thing, the reason why I'm doing it is you can see that color versus that color. So down here is what I've reseeded. That is a Seed Superstore Kentucky bluegrass mix, and it looks incredible when it's woken up. It's struggling a little bit now. You can see it fought some disease last year because it was young and it didn't have what it took to fight it off, and so it's kind of having a hard time waking back up, but it will. But I've rambled long enough. The first step, what we're doing today, is we're killing it. So with that, we got to mark off the section, get our glyphosate and Spectricide weed and grass killer, mix those up, and we're gonna spray. I know I can do about 24 feet with the sprinklers, so we're gonna give her the old golfer's pace. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, here's what we're starting with. So we have Roundup, active ingredient, glyphosate. Roundup's the name brand you're usually probably familiar with. And then Spectricide's weed and grass killer has active ingredients of diquat, fluazaflop, and dicamba. So we're getting a lot of different actives, and I'm mixing these together. You don't have to. It does make killing it off a little bit more expensive, but I found this works the best because I've just used this. I applied it twice when I tried to kill off the first section, and there was still quite a bit of living plant matter in there. When I did the application of both, it was all wiped out. So that's what we're gonna do. And what I forgot to mention is the rate is 6 ounces per gallon. Covers, I believe, either 300 or 500 square feet. So I'm gonna use 2 gallons and cover the 1,000-ish square feet and just leave it at that. And then if I have to apply a second time, I'll apply a second time. But that's what we're gonna do. Quick update on the die-off of our grass over here. We're definitely gonna have to, I was planning on having to do this at least twice. So we'll give it another, this is about day 3. So we'll give it about a week and then hit it again and hit the spots that survived best the hardest this next time. But let's shift over here because this is what we're shooting for. That color in there is pretty incredible. I still don't know what's going on with that spot right there. That spot was low and I filled it. I know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully it comes back. And then over here, nothing will highlight your inability as an applicator, like a glyphosate application where you're gonna see exactly how well you did. And you can see, I did not do very well. So we'll hit it again, we'll go in the other direction, and it should be good to go here. Get it all killed off enough, mow it down to nothing, and then till it. And we will carry on with the process and we'll keep bringing you along with that journey. And now it is time to do the second application of glyphosate and the weed and grass killer on the front yard section so we can get that ready to be tilled and seeded for the front yard renovation. So with that, I've already talked about this in the last time I sprayed. One thing I didn't mention is make sure you are using a dedicated sprayer to glyphosate. Do not use something that you're going to spray anything else with because that residue could potentially kill whatever you spray. This weekend, I think we're gonna start tilling and seeding that section in the front. So what I wanna do now is I wanna scalp that down. And the reason we're doing that is I don't wanna have to fight against all of the organic matter in there. Now, I'm gonna mulch still, because if it's all cut up and broken in small pieces, it's just gonna become organic material in the ground. But all the clumping of the turf on top, if that sticks around when we are tilling, that's going to be really difficult to get a smooth surface. Pete from GCI Turf actually just talked about that as he's renovating the grass by his shop. And he kind of talked about the same sort of thing where if you have all those clumps in there, it's going to be an issue. So what I want to do is I want to run the mower over it real quick, scalper all the way down, get it ready. And then this weekend, we're starting that front yard renovation. And I'm looking forward to it. So let's do that quick and then we'll get into the tour. All right, so you can see that second glyphosate application did its job. There's a little bit of green left in there, but after we scalp it until it is not going to matter. She is good and ripped off, dead as can be. So we gotta use the old Honda here, and we're gonna drop her all the way down. So that is as scalped as we're gonna get it. It's so bumpy. Mower won't go any lower. You've actually seen there a couple times that the mower kind of grabbed, so it's already bottoming out. It can go a little bit lower, but just it's so bumpy it can't. So that's as good as it's gonna get. And then hopefully tomorrow, we're gonna till that up. And then at some point, either tomorrow or some other day, get that seeded and get it looking like that. All right, so here we are, taking a stab at tilling out in the front yard here. So it rained last night, so these are certainly not ideal conditions, but I wanted to give it a stab because I have a little bit of time to mess around with it here and see what would happen, and it's not going great. So you can see with the amount of moisture and the fact that all the turf and roots are in there, it's all holding together really well and not really doing what we want. If we come over here where this was bare, so I'm not fighting against all the root mass and everything, this is actually tilling up really nicely, and we'd be able to work with this. But unfortunately it's not all doing that. So I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna try to get a couple passes over like I've done down over here, and just try to scuff this top layer off because it's a warm day and the sun's coming out. So hopefully it can dry out a little bit and then we can come back over again maybe later today before the rain comes tonight. So here's hoping. Past two, getting a little better. Still a ton of clumps of turf. Hopefully it dries out a little bit here until after dinner. We'll hit it one more time. And then, I don't know, we'll kind of see what we have after that. All right, so that is over 2 days, 5 passes across that section to get it fine enough where we can finally drag it. So that's what we're gonna do right now. We're gonna get the camera set up, get my drag out, and then give it the old Deadpool maximum effort, because that is heavy and a lot of weight to drag around. Well, that isn't working at all, so guess it's not meant to be today. It's got to dry out a little bit more. Till it again, hopefully get a little bit finer, and then maybe it'll work, but we'll see. So as I said, that was not working. And I think it's because of the clumping. So I've dragged off, I'm conducting an experiment here, dragged off 2 wheelbarrows worth of kind of the chunky turf left over from the top. On this section over here, I'm gonna try and see if I can till it again after having done that and see what happens. See if you can see it's all chunky and it just, my drag doesn't dig into that, so I can't grab it and level it. And then over here I've taken some of that off. And I'm gonna till it once and see if I can get it to work. I'm having some success raping out the having some success raking out the chunks of turf and then raking that in, and then once that's done, then we can take the drag over it, smooth out some of the low spots that are a little harder to get with a rake. So let me show you a little bit of what that's looking like. So welcome back to another sunny day here in May in our lawn. Just out here at lunch trying to get this done because I'm actually starting to achieve a level of dryness that allows me to do something with this, and there are storms coming later today. So I'm hoping here over the next hour or so I can get this kind of knocked down, And then whenever the rain looks like it's coming, we can get some seed down, our fertilizer down, and all that stuff, and go through that process here. But for now, we're gonna try to just tilled that again to get it nice and loose for me. So I'm kind of going through and hand screening. And so you can see this is where I've been able to get the stuff that I've screened and then dragged over. And then hopefully we can kind of rake this out again as well and get to a similar point over here. All right, guys, that was 3 days, 8, 9, 10 hours of just suffering. If you're gonna do it this way, if you're gonna till up an existing section of turf that you have, it has to be dry. It has to. I underestimated how important it being dry was, because the tiller just won't work if it's wet. So it got a little bit drier today. I've done what I'm gonna call good enough. This will all settle. This is about the same thing that I did up there, and that's fine up there. Maybe next spring we'll do some sand leveling of anything that sinks, but we're there. I'm gonna get myself just cooled off a little bit, take a break, and then before the rain comes this afternoon, gonna come through here, seed it, fertilize it, and start watering. I'd be more excited, but I'm just gassed. So it's gonna be a long recovery for me. For you, it'll just be this cut. All right, so it is time to seed. Here's the lineup that we got. First of all, welcome back. It's good to see you again. But so a little bit different than my how to grow grass seeds successfully in the summer video. So I have a bigger bag of a 10-10-10. So we're just gonna put down, I'm gonna do 15 pounds of that, get about 1.5 pounds of everything. And then the seed at 2 pounds per 1,000. O2 microgreen for some micros, and then RGS, and we're going to keep applying RGS weekly at 3 ounces to try to help get the soil helpful for the grass seed to take root. Now here at this step you can do a ton of different things, but you will need to know about what your soil is. So because I've always known that I was going to be killing off and renovating my front yard section by section, I haven't treated it at all since last spring. I put Milo down before I realized this was going to be my plan. So it's nutrient deficient, so I'm not too worried about getting carried away with what I'm putting down. But you can use starter fert is usually the marketing. Starter fertilizer, fertilizer for new grass. Those are the types of things you're going to see, and they're going to be high phosphorus fertilizers, because phosphorus is going to help the grass take root, help it grow, develop a root system, and get healthy as quickly as possible. The couple additional things I'm using, RGS, O2 microgreen, those types of things are not necessary. If you don't have those, you will absolutely be able to grow grass, because this is my low effort seeding in here, and you can see there's a ton of germination in here. I didn't fertilize, all I did was my spring fertilizer, and then I've just watered it ever since. But if you want to take the time, put the effort in, if you're somebody like me that takes this seriously, thinks it's fun, you can get carried away with a lot of these other products to help make sure that it's going to work. You also don't need a $150 10 bag of seed. You can go grab Scott's Sun and Shade. Again, that I just showed you, that is Scott's Sun and Shade mix. It's a small area, so I bought a 7-pound bag. It was like $15. That's fine. That is going to be perfectly fine. I'm just doing something special in the front because it's fun. It's the front yard. It's right on a corner. So everybody comes out of that subdivision. All those people back there pay for their lawn care. I've seen Naturescape, a couple different companies driving through here. So I want what those people see when they come out from their neighborhood to be as dominant as possible. So that's what we're doing. So with that, we're gonna put it down. Kids are coming outside as I'm getting called. Let's do that. So first, putting the seed down. I figure it's dry enough where it's not gonna stick to my shoes or anything. So every time I step, we'll pack it in there, get good seed soil contact in those spots. So now we're shooting for seed to soil contact. You can do that a couple different ways. You can put peat moss on there, you can put straw on there, you can do a lot of things. For me, I like just an old fashioned rake, drag it over the top. That seed will settle in as it kind of ruffles the soil a little bit. It'll settle in there, and it's worked for me. I'm 2 for 2 so far, so let's see if it keeps working. So the two products, we're gonna go microgreen at 9 ounces per 1,000 and RGS at 6 today, and then 3 for subsequent applications. So what I use is a system of 3 of these Hunter MP rotators with the MP3000 head on there. And so I have one here on this corner, one right there, and one over there in the other corner. And that gives me a pretty even coverage. Now ideally you would have, I think actually 6 heads for a section like that. Corner, middle, corner, corner, middle, corner. Just to have the most even coverage possible, but what I have here works just fine. It grew this grass, so it'll work for me going forward. And really that is the most important bit, watering now. We've done all the hard work, now it's just a matter of every morning, every evening, we need to water. This needs to stay wet at all times. It has to. That's the single most important thing here with our seeding project. None of the other stuff we did, the tilling, the grading, the smoothing it out, getting the chunks out of there, putting fertilizer down, putting seed down, none of that matters if you don't water it. So keep it watered. And that includes a morning where you get up and it's gonna rain this evening. No, you're gonna water that morning. The seed needs to stay wet. It needs to stay wet always. So I'm out here this evening going to do the second half of the fungicide application. I'll talk about that a little bit in a second, but first I wanna show you 2 things. And the first is, let me show you real quick. Once you have seed down, literally the only 2 things that you do. Let me show you. And that's it. Water and keep some sort of control over the weeds that are coming in.
Well, hello everyone and welcome back to a sunny morning here in our lawn. And we have got some exciting news. Take a look. Hard to tell on camera. Let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, there's baby grasses. So we have achieved small amounts of germination on this Kentucky bluegrass. This is only day, I believe, 10 since I seeded. So you wouldn't really expect much from Kentucky bluegrass. It's a little bit slower to germinate than some of the other grass types, but we got it. It's coming in. It lets us know that what we're doing is gonna work. And it's exciting stuff.
Before we get too far into that exciting development on the channel, let's take a quick look at the seed in the front, and I'm gonna have to flip the sprinklers on because it's starting to get a little dry. You can't really actually see much, but there's germination all throughout. The best bits of which are over here. You can see the green in there. You can cut to a couple days ago when I introduced this video and you would have seen what it looked like then, but it's absolutely coming along. And I think actually this time, maybe with the exception of this little strip across the driveway, I think I'm gonna have germination throughout. I might not even need, I might not even need to reseed any of this. Like it may just, especially being Kentucky bluegrass, it might just fill in. So I think we should be good. We just gotta keep watering and keep on top of maintenance.
In there?
No. As you can see, we pulled some weeds. Really a big part of having successful seed projects is doing stuff consistently and just not for very long. There I did it for not very long. Son came and asked me to go throw some baseballs with him, and when I stood up I almost passed out, so I figured that was a good time to stop. I'm gonna just do a little bit every day, keep filling up this bucket. the evening sun, it starts to look pretty good back there. Actually, you can see how good that coverage is getting, and it's pretty exciting. With this seeding, I did not do with this seeding, I did not use Tenacity, just because the weeds came in pretty bad last time when I used it, but it was just that PERS lane, and I think, hey.
Sorry.
And so I just was like, nah, well, whatever, I'm used to pulling the weeds, but the problem is much worse here. So I think from now on, all seeding projects will include Tenacity as well. So just something to consider if you're gonna be doing a reseed yourself. You should definitely go spray Tenacity at a teaspoon per gallon. How good does that look, eh? So I've just taken a bit of a risk, and it's probably not worth it, but I did it anyway. So I just put Tenacity on here, mesotrione. The label literally says not to do that, so don't do that. But I have a weed problem in here, and I'd like to get something on it to try to help keep that from taking over. And two, it's an experiment to see if all my grass dies and I have to start over, or if it hangs in there. Now, actually, when I did this section, after it had germinated, I had weed problem kind of start to creep up, and I did it after germination, which again, the label says not to do, but I did not see that in the label. So I did it over there, and all that grass made it through. So I'm hoping this makes it through as well. But literally, don't do that. The label literally says not to do that, because you might kill the young grass. So we'll see what happens. And then, so from what I can tell, Tenacity hasn't really started doing anything to anything yet after that application. For sure, the grass is still looking fine, and realistically, the weeds are looking relatively unharmed at this point as well. Maybe a little whitening to this point, but we'll keep an eye on it. Little update on the seed behind me. So today I gave it the second shot of the 10-10-10 at about 10 pounds per 1,000. So I put another pound of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus down on there. And also you can see we're really starting to bleach the weeds in there, and the grass is remaining pretty healthy. So I cannot really say often enough, the label literally says not to do what I did here. And you can see why. So this is Kentucky bluegrass, healthy, what we want to keep, and there's some bleaching in there. So the turf is being damaged by the Tenacity a little bit, but that was a risk I was willing to take, because look at how effective, little fireworks, look at how effective it is in bleaching out the weeds. And again, I'm not looking to eliminate all the weed activity in here entirely, but it was starting to get out of hand, and just wanted to at least suppress it a little bit so that we could let the grass continue to grow in and fight through all this weed pressure. And while we're on the subject of Tenacity, let's come out front here and give a little update on the status of things you shouldn't do, but I did anyway. So let's take a look at the young turf that I sprayed Tenacity on, because I wanted to get a pretty bad weed problem in there to at least slow down from taking over. And so let's see what we got. The actual turf is looking okay, but there are some signs of damage. You can see that guy right there is bleached. We got some frosted tips in the turf grass throughout, but it's holding up okay, and it does not seem to be whiting off at the same rate as some of the weeds are. Where you can see that is bleaching out pretty good. That's starting to bleach out. And over here, if we come, this section through here, there's actually quite a bit of bleaching in the grass blades. But you can see all of the weeds are looking fairly sad and pretty vibrant. So I think that's gonna work, and most of it is going to survive. Again, I kind of like the opportunity of trying an experiment and seeing what happened, and that's what we're doing. Worst case scenario, I'm out a month and $20 worth of grass seed, and I just got to seed it again. So if I have to do that, I have to do that. I'm not all that worried about it, but I think it's going to make it and hopefully help out the weed issue in there. So far to this point, we're getting the results we hope for, and you can see actually today I drove the big lawnmower over there as well, and I was a little worried that I was going to get some major rutting, but apparently all the dirt settled itself down pretty well, because it held up okay. And so soon enough, that is going to continue all the way to the end of the sight line there, and I cannot wait. So as you have seen, I'm fresh off all that rain that we got yesterday into last night, and what it gives me a good opportunity to do is, with some pretty wet soil, I can get these
weeds out of the new grass seed. So all I'm doing is I'm pulling purslane and I'm pulling whatever the problem grass is that I have. I don't know what it is, but I'm pulling that up too, because those are going to be the two hardest to get rid of, and they're the two most aggressive to take over. Once this turf up here is established, I'm going to be able to spray it all out. It's no problem. So I'm halfway through again, just pulling those two weeds, and I got a whole bucket. So over there's some thistle that's still growing up. I'm just going to leave that, and then you can see over that way all the kind of leafy purslane and taller grass sticking up that I haven't gotten to yet. So I'm going to go empty this bucket out and then go back to pulling some weeds. So in here is the one weed that we're dealing with. Again, these are grassy weeds, so they look like grass. But again, here's the Kentucky bluegrass, finer blades, and then this guy, these big chunky ones. Also in here you can see the white, let's get it on frame, the white blades, what Tenacity is doing, it's bleaching it in there. And you can also see Tenacity is really a multiple application type herbicide. You gotta apply it a couple times. Again, I just did it the once here to stunt my weed growth and let the turf get in, and then once it's all established, we'll start using regular herbicides, as well as probably hit it with Tenacity again a couple times until we get everything out of here and we're good to go. All right, so one thing that I want to get done here after I went through and picked all the weeds in there, they're all out. I had 3 of those buckets that I would have showed you. But what I want to do is it's starting to get pretty mature in here. It's starting to look really good. So I want to start cutting it. And the 3.5 inch cut height is not going to get at it soon enough. So I'm going to drop down the Honda to, I think, 2.5 inches and start cutting it there as regularly as I can. Because basically the more you can cut it when it's new turf and establishing, the more it's going to start to grow out rather than trying to grow up. So it's pretty important in getting this Kentucky bluegrass to start sending rhizomes out and start filling in the spots that have not done as well as some of the other areas. So I'm going to do that right now. So this is about probably 45 days from seeding, and that's its first really proper cut. Some of the tips would have been taken off last time I cut with the big guy at 3.5, but now that's at maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches, somewhere in there on that Honda. And man, it is really getting there. Color is starting to level off with the mature section, and now that we start cutting it, it's really only going to start looking better. And then the second section that's been seeded is really starting to come in, fill in. I'll probably cut that today again with the Honda to get the height not quite as low as I did last time. That was probably a little lower than I should have, but I'll cut that at probably 2.5 inches to try to get it to encourage to grow sideways. All right, so we are back from a weekend away, and it is finally time to spray. Gosh, let me get out of the... It's finally time to spray the weeds in my grass seeds. So if you've been following along, or if you've been watching this kind of A to Z video, you will have seen that I've had some weed problems in this section of seed, which I didn't have in the first section that I did. I don't know why. I didn't do Tenacity, so maybe that was the difference, and I will do that from now on. However, this has been cut probably 3 or 4 times now, so it should be a mature enough stand of turf, and the temperatures are starting to get a little bit more mild here, so we can go with just a regular for lawns herbicide. You can use anything. Usually your active ingredients are going to be 2,4-D, dicamba, what is it, like MPCC, yeah, you know me, whatever it is. So we're going to mix that up. My weapon of choice happens to be
Spectricide weed control for lawns that also comes with quinclorac, which is a crabgrass preventer. And I'm also going to spike in Tenacity again, as I have some grassy weed issues in here. And so hopefully between the two of them, we can do a decent job of stunting the weed problem in here. So I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick. And then what I'm going to mix up is going to be 6 ounces per gallon per 1,000 square feet of the Spectricide product, because that's what it tells you to do on the label, and then a teaspoon? I think it's a teaspoon per gallon of Tenacity. And so I'm going to do my 13-ish 100 square feet here, 13, 14-ish 100 square feet, something like that. And then whatever's left, I'm just going to spot spray weeds throughout the rest of the yard. So with that, let me show you what we got. We can also use this as an update to the did Tenacity kill my new turf? The answer is clearly no, as it's starting to come in pretty nicely, looking pretty good, starting to meet up with its friend, and it'll eventually become a single unit of turf grass. But here's what we got. So it's all, I think this is plantain. So the biggest perpetrator in through here is definitely plantain, and then some thistle right there. Purslane is in here as well somewhere, if I find that, whatever that little broadleaf is. Let's see, there's a giant plant, whatever this is, I don't know. It's not crabgrass. I know a lot of people would look at this and say it's crabgrass. It's not. It's quackgrass, or who knows what it is. But hopefully Tenacity will smoke that off. And there's some purslane right there. So that's what we're going to be spraying. And this will be it for this video series, kind of following along as I full kill and till and reseed a section of my yard to get it to go from an old stand of turf that didn't really look great, was problems, bumpy, all sorts of issues, to something that looks like that up over there. So with that, let's get to spraying. So as I said, that is Spectricide weed control for lawns plus crabgrass preventer, which is quinclorac. Tenacity at a rate, I'm actually not entirely certain what I did. I think I did 3 teaspoons per the whole area. And then also you'll be happy to see this time I got rain pants on and gloves. So I have my PPE on this time, so some individual on the internet can't stumble upon my video and go, honey, there's a man on the internet. He's spraying chemicals without the appropriate PPE. I'm gonna comment and tell him it's unsafe. Like, yeah, put gloves on if you want. I didn't a couple of the other times. I'm sorry, forgive me. And there we go. Everything, start to finish, to the results you would have seen me laying it out there at the intro of the video. Hopefully that is helpful for you. If you made it this far, man, that's awesome. Leave me a comment, let me know you made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to follow along to everything I'm doing here in my lawn, my property here, to take it from something that was horrible, overgrown, everything looked awful, to try to make it a beautiful place here around our house. So again, I honestly, if you're listening to this part of the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Subscribe, like, leave me a comment down below, and we'll see you next time.